We see each person as an individual, but a person who has a story, and we need to know that story. It's extremely important. You can't care for people without knowing their story. One of the things that's really important for those of us who are caregivers is because a person has a certain illness or a certain diagnosis, that person is still the same person. They haven't changed who they are because now I have cancer or now I have Alzheimer's. The spirit of who we are is still very much intact. We might get a little bit more angry because of the disease or because of the pain or whatever, but who I am is still there. And that's what palliative care helps us to do, is to still see the person as they are and who they are. Somebody still knows who I am. And the only way we get to know who they are is by listening to their stories. Palliative care is taking care of someone and making sure that you are looking at all the comforts of pain. For instance, we have a tendency to look only at physical pain when somebody comes in, and we start looking at them more clinically. But when we're talking palliative care, we're saying that we're going to be looking at a person, the holistic care. Palliative care consists of looking at all 5 pains, not just the physical. So we're looking at the mental pain, we're looking at emotional pain, we're looking at the pain that someone might be experiencing spiritually. And we're also looking at the family pain, the pain that a family member might be experiencing because someone has a debilitating illness.
How we find out about a resident's life history is from the resident profile. And that tells all about their life before they were married, who they married, when they married, where they raised their family, how many children they had. It's important because you can focus on the resident and you can say, hey, Betty, you know, I hear you were a mother of 5 boys. How was that? That must have been tough. Yes. And their eyes light up, and then you say, and Henry was your husband. You were married 60 years. How'd you put up with him? And all these familiarities, they just shine, and they wonder, how, geez, they really know, you know, who I am and what I'm all about.
Look at the eyes. Look at the eyes. Look at
what we try to express to our caregivers is that every one of those people had a dream as to living out their life in their home and dying in their home, and dying probably with their boots on. Somewhat of their dream gets shattered when a debilitating illness comes to them. And we have to be able to say, what parts of that dream can we still help them enjoy?
Alive, alive, oh, alive, alive, oh, crying tacos and mussels, alive, alive, oh.
I had 2 sons and a daughter, and I worked as a secretary my whole life.
My name is John Fletcher. My mother, Cora Fletcher, and she is 93 and a half. The good thing about my mom's care is that they are taking care of her as an entity. People in the healthcare profession seldom take care of the entire individual. She wouldn't be alive without her medication. But if she also needs her physical therapy, she also needs her occupational therapies. She needs her socialization. She needs her spirituality. So I do feel that they are treating the whole person, and I think it's so important. She could be physically doing well and mentally not doing well. Given that I thought she was passing away in early August, these last 4 and 5 months have been evidence that what's being done here is helping her to be alive, to be happy, and to be, grateful for that time.
We believe that palliative care is about compassion. Palliative care really means that we are walking with you, we're accompanying you, we're journeying you through your life And whatever cards are going to be handed to you, whatever illness that you might have to face, you're not going to face it alone.
Well, my mother's probably the best mother you could have. She grew up one of 11 children in an Italian family. She met my dad through a blind date, and they got married the same month that Pearl Harbor broke out. So my dad went off and she worked for Hodgman Rubber, making raincoats. She was just a wonderful person. Everybody loved her. I don't think she had any enemies. And we grew up in a very loving household. The medical care that they give her is wonderful. Without me asking all these things, they are providing her with the medical treatments and the OT and PT treatments that she needs. I mean, sometimes you figure you get to be 103 and they're not going to bother. That isn't the way it is. There is just as much on top of her at 103 as they were at 97. She's gone downhill from last year to this year. She's had a wonderful, wonderful life. We have no regrets. I know it fills me up, but I am ready. They have provided everything to get her to this point. We've come to 103. Who has that?
The whole spiritual piece and the emotional piece kind of go hand in hand, and you find that when people are coming to maybe terms with this is a debilitating illness, or this might be my last stop before I see the face of God, they begin to ask some really deep questions, and sometimes they share them and sometimes they don't. They need to share them, and the right questions, the right people being present to them helps them come to a better peace.
They are so comforting. They are so aware of what she needs. And they say the difference is love here. It is. It is.
Mother Angeline started our community in 1929. She really was a woman before her time because she preached palliative care in 1929. This is not new to our community. She talked about the fact that each resident was an individual, was unique. So it's a natural thing for Carmelite Sisters and the homes that we serve in to see each resident coming through our doors as an individual with a history and a story, and what can we do to make them most comfortable so that when they come, they feel like it is a home.
I bet it is hard to have a life, to be in your own home and then to be in a different place. And that's why we have these meetings and talk about the problem and put, all the pieces together and to see what we can do to make life a little easier and more pleasant.
Some of our homes, some of the things that we do, we might bake bread on the floor. So you smell the bread baking, or you smell the coffee in the morning. Again, palliative care expresses that you know that this person, it's more than just the tasks that has to get done every day for that person. That you're doing all in your power to make me feel I'm waking up to my home or I'm living in my home. The smells are familiar. These songs might be familiar. Or some of the things that I'm going to do this week are going to be familiar. It's looking at the person and going beyond the physical need.
It's a good feeling to help them into their next chapter of their life. You're making their last days comforting and hopefully pain-free, and it's a good feeling.
I have had the opportunity to sit by the bedside, and it is by far one of the most beautiful experiences that you can have with being present to someone who is dying. But when you're sitting there and you're beginning to, in your mind, think of all the stories that they've told you over the years, or the families share as families are sitting around the bed. You know that the compassion that we can feel for one another is being with a person through every stage. It's a great privilege to be holding them or holding their hand and to know how close they are to God. And to know that this is the moment they are going from this world to the next.
None of us want to lose loved ones, but we know that it will happen. And all you can hope is until it happens, they're having the best possible life. And so one foremost, I feel mother, given what she can do physically, she is having the best possible life.
That's what palliative care is. And we help people, no matter whatever illness it might be, always be the person that they are an individual, they are unique, and whatever we are going to do, the difference is love.